Hey everybody, how's it going? Today we're going to be installing wheel flares on my 2017 Chevy Colorado. I'm going to show you how to do the front and I'm going to show you how to do the back. I'm going to be using an OEM wheel flare kit. I'll post the part number for these below, but this is basically what they are. First and foremost, the official directions say you need to remove the wheels to do this. If you have a small T15 Torx Allen wrench, you can do it without it. It does make it easier to remove the wheels, but I did the other side already, and it didn't add that much more time, I didn't think, to not remove the wheels. So just a little keynote there. With the kit, they give you the hardware to mount it. Also some alcohol wipes, but these don't really last that long. I would suggest getting your own alcohol and using a microfiber cloth to really clean the wheel arch before you attach the wheel flare. You do need to clean your wheel arches really well before you do this, because you need to have a good surface for the adhesive that's on the back side of the wheel flare. You can see it comes pre-installed. This red line, that's the tape that has to come off. I sprayed down the wheel arch with an all-purpose cleaner. Then I used car soap, regular car shampoo, washed it down really well with hot water, and went over it with the alcohol on a microfiber cloth, and I just rubbed the wheel arch where the adhesive is going to be sticking. I'm not going to show you how to do that. You can figure out how to do that yourself, but you need to do that to all four wheel arches first. So I would suggest doing that first before you even start removing any fasteners or anything like that. It's another keynote for you. The wheel flares are held on with 6 screws, and you have to remove existing screws inside the wheel housing already and discard those. It comes with brand new ones. There's one here, one here, one here, here, and then 2 on the back. This is for the front. Hold up the new wheel flare to the arch, and you can see where the new holes on the wheel flare line up, and then you can find out behind that what screws you need to remove. So there's 2 here, there's one like right around this area here, another here, and there's 6 total. So you just need to find the ones that you need to remove. Another note, it helps to turn the wheel to the left and then turn to the right for the other side when you do this, just to give yourself a little more room inside the wheel arch. So here's the back side of the wheel flare, and like I said, it comes pre-installed with the adhesive foam backing, and all you have to do is basically pull this off when you install these, and I'll show you what the trick is to that. Now they give you a little like a pigtail here, so you need to make sure you can access this once you get the wheel flare in place, because you don't pull this off until the wheel flare is in place. So what I did was I folded this over and I used a little piece of painter's tape to tape it to the front of the wheel flare so that I have access to it and it doesn't get stuck behind the wheel flare. So do that on both sides. There's a little pigtail for both sides here. You can see they give you a little extra, and just fold it around and tape it to the front. Then you can basically line up the wheel flare, and for the fronts it kind of clicks into place. It will find where it needs to sit and just sort of hold itself there while you start installing the fasteners. Now, you install the fasteners first before you remove the backing on the adhesive. Let me say that again. You install the fasteners first before you remove the backing on the adhesive. You don't tighten the fasteners all the way, but just get them in there enough to the point where the wheel flare is kind of loosely held into the opening. So you take the wheel flare, you put it into the opening, and then you're going to basically just kind of push it into place, and it will find itself around the lip of the sheet metal, and it will basically hold itself there. I'm not even holding it there. Then you can start installing the fasteners, and like I said, don't install them super tight. And you can see here, this is where I taped back the little flap on the adhesive so that you can get to that little flap and pull easier. So now just take all the fasteners that are included and start putting them into the spots where they go. So right now I have all the fasteners in, just sort of loosely holding the wheel flare in place. Now is the time you remove the adhesive backing. And basically what you do is you start at the back side and you pull the tape over itself, not sideways. If you pull sideways, you're going to rip the backing on the adhesive. So you need to pull slowly, pull the tape over itself. You also need to kind of move the wheel flare so that there's room for the backing material to come off. So as you go, you just sort of pull slowly and pull this red tab nice and easy over itself like you see here. And it will sometimes get caught because it's too tight. Just kind of push the wheel flare out towards you and it will just free up a little space for the backing material to come off. Some spots are harder than others, but just go slow, and if you find that it's too tight, just back off a little bit with your screws and work that backing material out. Until you get all the way around, and then you're going to start by pushing the wheel flare adhesive down and up into the wheel opening and against the vehicle itself. Go back and forth a few times to make sure you get it really down well. And after that, they're not going anywhere. You can now tighten all your fasteners. And you don't need to screw the fasteners on really, really tight. They're not heavy duty screws, just, hand tight, snug, good enough. Now for the rear wheel flares, it's a little more complicated. There's only 3 existing fasteners that you have to remove. There's 2 on the back here, and then there's 1 on the front. But then you also need to drill 2 holes in the top of the wheel arch. The holes line up with existing holes on the flare, so you have something to line up to. Once again, you do not need to remove the wheel to do these, even though the directions do say I was able to do the other side without removing the wheels. Another part of this side is having to install some adhesion promoter on this little wheel air dam thing in front of the rear wheels. There's a piece of adhesive that needs to get attached to this plastic here, and they give you adhesion promoter to apply on the air dam here. So I've taped off the bottom section where you don't want to get the adhesion promoter, and I've already applied it because it's a one package that they give you, so I did both sides at the same time. But basically I just applied it on the space here where the adhesive is going to be, and that part lines up with this on the wheel flare. This goes in front of the air dam like this, the whole thing kind of attaches like that. First thing you want to do is line up the wheel flare into the opening, and then you can find out which exact 3 screws you need to remove. Like I said, there's 2 at the back here that are existing, and there's 1 at the front here that's existing. It's easy to find when you hold the wheel flare up to the opening. Once you have all those 3 screws removed, you can go ahead and line up the wheel flare into the opening. And this one doesn't sit nicely like the fronts. You actually have to hold it in place and get a couple screws started by hand so that you can have it just sort of sit in there. And once you get the 3 screws that are in existing openings, it'll hold itself there just fine. Now, the next part you need to do is drill the holes for the 2 fasteners up here at the top. And I found that you really need to line up the inside of the wheel flare to the inside of the flange on the existing wheel opening, the sheet metal. It also helps to have 2 little clamps to hold it in place while you drill so that it doesn't move. The little clamps are actually for installing drop ceiling. I had them left over from when I was working in my basement. I found they work perfectly. Just to clamp the wheel flare on the back, keep it from moving. Now they tell you to use a 1/4-inch drill bit. You need a metal bit because you are drilling through plastic into metal. Just go ahead and find the hole that's existing on the wheel flare and drill straight up into the sheet metal. And it doesn't take much, as you can see. And then what I did, this is not necessary, it does say to use some sort of lubricant because obviously you just exposed a bunch of metal. I'm going to put some silicone caulking in the holes so that it protects it from rust. Alternatively, you don't have to drill for these 2. You can use very thin industrial strength adhesive tape, and you can just tape it on the inside of the wheel flare to the rim or to the lip of the wheel arch and just do it all along here. You can use a little bit of caulking to put up in the hole and around the hole just to kind of seal it from the bare metal. And the next step is to install the fasteners for those 2 holes you drilled. Now they do come with what they call U-nuts, and they say these just sit right on top of the metal flange. You insert your bolt through it and then you tighten it up just like you would normal. Not all the way, because obviously we still have to remove the adhesive backing on the paper. Just get these started. You need to sort of peel back the fender liner that's on the inside, just so you can get to where the top of the opening is for where you're putting your screw in. And you just peel it back, and it's flexible, so it stays out of the way mostly. Now you're ready to remove the backing, just like normal on the front side. Make sure you put your tape here to keep your little flap, and then start by pulling the tape up over itself slowly, all the way around, and down to the other side. Then really push the wheel into place and against the body. And then you can go ahead and tighten up the 5 fasteners here. There's one more we have to drill, but I'll do that next. Once you're done securing all your screws, make sure you push your fender liner back up over the lip of the fender so that you don't get a bunch of crap up inside there. Now let's look at this last connection. So the last part of this is getting this last little flap attached to the little air dam in front of the wheels. So like I said, you got to remove the adhesive backing and push that into the plastic, and you should have already installed your adhesion promoter so that that sticks really well to the plastic. Now there is one more spot here too that needs to be drilled for another fastener to go in, and there's a spot on this little piece you can see where it's hard to see because it's black on black on black, but there's a little indentation where you need to use your drill. And this is just plastic going through plastic, so it's pretty easy. Just like that. There's one more fastener and U-nut. The fastener goes in from the front and passes through to the back, and you just tighten it up. And there's the final shot, guys. I personally just like the way they look on the truck. I always thought the Colorado was just missing a little accent. Also, you gain a little protection in your wheel wells because gravel and all that sort of stuff can ding the inside of those wheel flares. So thanks for watching. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Love it if you subscribed, and stay tuned for more. Later.